Hi, this is Charles, and welcome back to Fruity Loops tutorials in trance at creatingtrance.com. Today is episode 3, and what we're going to talk about are builds, risers, and transitional effects. The first thing we're going to look at is the snare. More so in the step sequencer here. We're going to take a look at how we can add lots of different styles of snare transitions. So right now I have just quarter hits, and then on the fourth quarter we have a full 16th grouping and then another one. And I have the swing turned up about halfway. Let's go ahead and play it back and listen to this. And notice I have the snare channel selected. And notice that the pitch is changing throughout here. To lay in that type of setting, you just want to open the graph editor and then go to the fine pitch. Now, all you do is hold down the left mouse button and then kind of drag through to make the changes. Here, I'll put them all at the top here. Kind of weird, but you can do lots of different climbs. Kind of however you want. I'm just going to keep it the stagnant progressive build here. Yeah, let's fix that a little bit. There are a few other things you can change in here. Mod settings, if you have those in the plugin. Right now this is just a WAV file, so that doesn't really matter. Release length. That doesn't really change anything either, unless it's a much longer WAV file, or if it's, like I said, an instrument or plugin, that would really be affected by that. Velocity is pretty much how hard it's being hit. See how it kind of gets quieter down there. We're going to leave those alone though. Okay, let's go ahead and stop this here. And you simply just click this again to close it. Another way you can do this is to do the same thing in the key roll, but it's not as easy. You have to go in and press each key. And generally, if you're following basic music theories, when you're in here, you're going to want to set it up in the same scale as the rest of the song, which just takes too much work. So always want to go in here and just do the fine pitch setting. It's super easy. And then for anything else, if you're going to make something different, you'll just want to clone this like I did earlier. Let's take a look at the full snare transition. Fine pitch, pretty similar. We'll listen back to this. Ah, yes. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, let's kind of just go down the pattern list that I have built here. Now, the toxic build, it's one long note. Let's just take a listen to what it sounds like. Now, in here, I didn't go with the fine pitch because, as you can see, I went into the piano roll and added a much longer note than just the standard bar length. So, in order to get the pitch to move on this, let's actually just solo this out. Right click, brings it out there. My toxic is right here. Let's go ahead and open this up a little bit more. We'll put the mixer down here. I don't need to see the whole thing. Now, what I did is with the toxic build, which is up here, when you click on the instrument, it also brings up the channel settings. So we can close this here. This pitch is something I created an automation for. Now, always remember, you can just right click and create automation clip, and it'll drop an entire clip on the board. I've already done that though. So right here, I added a channel pitch envelope and kind of gave it more of a slower progression and then a quicker ending there. Now, like I said, you open this up and then you get the channel settings. You can also change how many pitch semitones it'll move. We're just sticking with 2, but you can go all the way up to 48. Oh my gosh, that's pretty crazy. But we're going to listen to the movement of 2, and then we'll listen to the movement of 48. Okay, let's listen to this back. It's pretty long. Let's bring the side chain in there. This I just have sent to the toxic biohazard, and inside of my limiter, I have selected the compressor setting, which you just click there, and then you have to choose a side chain. This number 1 correlates with this number 1 here. Always remember that. If you have multiple side chains, you want to make sure that you get the number correct. Okay, let's play this back one more time with the side chain running. Let's bring up the limiter so we can kind of see it working there. So that's the kick coming in that I have just assigned to a side chain. If I go to that pattern, you can see it's just a basic kick instrument, but it's not going anywhere else. All it is it's being used as a side chain. It's a lot better to keep your side chain and your actual kick instrument separate. It just, sometimes you don't want to side chain something, but you want the kick to still be there. Again, this is still taste and preferences. It comes down to what you want, but that's just kind of the way that I have done it and the way that I've seen it done from other producers in the past. Okay. I have some chords set up. We're not really going to go into those too much, except for this one. This is more of a musical transition. However you want to look at that. Let's just play this back though. This is more of an evolution of a basic chord that happens in the beginning of the song right here, and then I kind of bring it back a little later in the track up here to continue the same sound but a little more interesting. So we'll listen to that. Let me unmute all of these first. Always a right click. If you want to right click, you can solo things out. Another right click will bring everything back unmuted. So let's take a listen here. Pretty dramatic. I have a really fast snare here. These are 30-second notes. They're pretty quick. And the way that I did the pitch movement on them is I laid them in right here, and then I automated the pitch from the channel settings. Tiny little automation here, but it's all it really takes. So again, let's just solo out the snare and take a listen to it. You will also hear the snares that I played back earlier. Pretty cool. Let's bring in another element. One of my favorite things is to have a reverse cymbal come in at the same time as a crash. Now I will enable the side chain, and let's move over a little bit here. Enable this, and enable the reverse series cymbal that I added in here, and then the cymbal sound effects. Now, before I play this, the reverse cymbal, always know that you can go into the channel settings and click this reverse button. It's as simple as that. It'll literally flip it around for you. And as you can see, it's not a perfect bar that I'm laying it on. You kind of have to find the measurement of when the reverse is going to end, which would be right here. It only takes 10-15 seconds of just playing the loop back to find the end, and it always helps to turn the metronome on while you're doing so. So if we listen to it here. I also have it going into a reverb send, which always helps. And on the send, once again, this is something I always do. I have a sidechain from the kick sound, and I'm sending it in over there. You can barely see the kick affecting it, but it is going off in there. Let's bring this back and close it. Okay, let's play this back and see what those sound like together. It kind of spills out, but it sounds really nice with the sidechain going along. Now I have a very basic bass sound going here. I'm using the Harmless plugin here. And I have also automated the pitch for that. So let's play that back. Arm the sidechain as well. You'll hear a flat note, and then you will hear the pitch drop down from its current position. Always know that when you hold it up in the air or down at the bottom, prior and after, it will carry on with that exact point that you're using. Okay, let's take a listen here. Pretty cool. Simple. It's all fairly simple. Let's go in here and we will take a look at the Jupiter sound that I have added in here. This one's a little bit different. Arm that, arm the side chain, and let's take a listen to this transitional effect here. Little bit more of a dronier sound, but it always sounds good to send a drone-ish sound, something that hovers a lot, something with a lot of release. It's always good to send that into the sidechain reverb as well. And you can even stereo it out using a number of different plugins. The stereo enhancer is nice. Just add it, turn the phase offset, either direction. It doesn't really matter. The phase direction is really just where it starts, but it will immediately bounce back and forth between the left and right channel. You can really send things out into the stereo with that plugin there. Okay, other than a few different movements, I took a similar bass, I took the same bass instrument here and made some more changes to it. A to E up to G. Let's see what that one sounds like. Pretty basic. The reason it was turned down was because of these automations I have down here, which we're going to talk about right now. So, volume automation is key, especially when you're going through transition section and you're dropping into a more important melodic chord section of the song. Sometimes instruments will have a very long release and they'll kind of spill off. And sometimes you can go into the instrument and lower the release or automate the release to cut off. Most of the time though, I don't really want to play with the settings of a perfectly molded instrument. I will actually just create an automation for the volume envelope. And again, like I was saying, this will cut and come back up. This one carries out, comes up a little bit louder in the end. We can actually probably bring this down a tiny bit, but this one doesn't. But at the same time, it's going to retain that exact level all the way to the end. So either way, if you set it up like this, it's fine. Or if you set it up like this, it's fine. Either way, the upper section is more so if I wanted to add more things to it, but this will retain the level throughout that I've brought it back up to. Also down here, I have some filter envelopes that I've automated just to spice things up. close them up, bring them back up towards the end. And another one that I haven't really talked about is the master envelope, EQ band. So there's certain sections where I pretty much drop out the low end of the equalizer. And if I go into the master, you can see here that I've actually moved the low end range up a little higher. It's actually kind of sitting right in the middle. Normally it comes set up like this, but I wanted it to cut even higher, almost pretty much to the mid-range. But it's not the knob that I've automated, it's this slider here. So when I pull the slider down, it's going to literally cut all of that out. Now this is more so a technique that you'll hear a lot better once a song has been mastered, because the limiter will go down into that and lift it a little bit more. Not like it's bringing back the low end. Since we're losing the low end, we're going to lose a bit of volume. But again, in mastering it, we'll bring it back. So this pretty much controls the whole track because I have selected the master and this is what we're dealing with. I also have a few other things in here. An equalizer with just a high cut and a basic low cut. There's some presets in here that you can play with. I just went with the 20 hertz, 18 kilohertz cut. Pretty basic stuff. Other than that, this track isn't very long. It's about 2 minutes. And it's really just to demonstrate a bunch of different fills within the genre of trance. So let me size this up properly. Now before I play this back, let's make sure that I've captured all of these settings here. The Sawyer instrument is great. This thing has so many different trance sounds in it. Unlike other preset-driven instruments, this one you actually go into the program and just kind of find one that sounds good. But it's a very authentic sounding analog instrument modeler. A lot of these will send the polyphony up fairly high. This Tropical Island normally comes with 24 polyphonies, and what that is that's how many notes are going off at once. I had to turn it down to 12 to be able to actually record this tutorial. But if you have a really powerful computer, you should be able to pull it off. These analog modelers are just so powerful though. Let's play this one back and listen to it. Let's first unsolo everything. We can play this back and listen to it. Pretty cool. I created a second one and kind of spiced things up throughout it. Went up into some 3rd, 5th, and 7th chord movements. We won't play that though, I'll save that till the actual song. This transition right here is a basic kick with a cymbal, and they kind of go off at the same time. This noisy cymbal here is very saucy sounding, but this is kind of what you want, especially if you're sending it into a sidechain. It just sounds so good. Okay, so I have just a splash in there because sometimes we don't want the kick coming through. Obviously the reverse cymbal that I looked at earlier. And then the intro section. You can normally start a track off with just a basic kick, snare, hat, and a few other percussion elements, but I like to normally start things off with some goofy sound effect thing. Let's just play this back. This is a stock sound found in FL Studio. It's pretty long there. But like I said earlier, it's all about placing it properly to where the end cuts off as the beat starts. Took a bit of measuring, but it, like I said again, it doesn't take long. You just really put a few minutes into it and measure it out perfectly. If it's just a wave file, that's all it really takes. You can even go into the piano roll, turn the accuracy way down, and get deep in there with how accurate you want that effect to start and end. Also be aware that you can change the in and the out of these if you want it to start later or end earlier. There's even trimming here, but these are things that you want to play with to find the perfect start, end, and fade in, fade out points. So let's put this on the chord here. There are a few other instruments in here, but they don't really pertain to effects, risers, and build transitions and such. But let's take a listen back to this track and just see how it all comes together. Enjoy.